All right, so for number one, okay, you had to construct and interpret a 90% confidence interval for the difference in girls minus boys and the amount of sleep they get per night. Okay, so I hope you were able to get like at least some of this, all right? Because of course a lot of this is like the same sort of concepts over and over and over again. You have to communicate your variables. Okay, so we're gonna have two different means. We got means for girls, means for boys. Okay, the amount of sleep they get. Okay, we're doing a 90% confidence interval. Okay, with degrees of freedom. That might be new. Okay, degrees of freedom for this one is just the lesser of the 2 degrees of freedom. So the degrees of freedom for girls was 34. Degrees of freedom for boys was 39. So degrees of freedom for the combined sample is going to be 34. Okay. All right. So then we check our conditions. Random. We did get 2 random samples. Is it independent? Yes. Those are both safe assumptions for being less than 10% of the different populations. And then normal. Okay, this is where you have those 3 different options. Okay, so we have, if our n is less than 30, we had to worry about the populations being normal or the graphs. But in this case, both samples were larger than 30. We had 35 and 40, okay? And when they're larger than 30, then the central limit theorem tells us we can assume the sampling distribution of the difference will be approximately normal as well. You have to write that, okay? So on the AP test, you can't just say n is less, n's are larger than 30 and then move on. You have to talk about why you're able to move on. That's saying it's because the central limit theorem tells us we can make this assumption, okay? So this turns out that we are doing a 2 sample T interval for means. Okay, and here's our formula. Okay, so I gave you the formula. Now we're going to plug in all of our data. Okay, So we got 6.55 minus 6.2, a variable. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. So plus or minus, we have our T star 1.69 times our square root of our standard deviation for the girls squared over the sample, 35, plus the standard deviation for the boys squared over their sample. Okay, so we throw all that into our calculator and let me write this out one time first. Okay, so we're going to end up with 0.34 plus or minus 0.141, or you can write as an interval. We've got 0.199 and 0.481. Okay, so there's our interval. So conclusion, we are 90% confident that the true difference in the average amount of sleep between girls minus boys is between 0.199 and 0.481 hours.